I'm Rick Veldy, and I want to show you my product, Simplode Suite. It's right here. There is a free version, which has quite a bit of features, and there's also a full version, which has quite a bit more. The first feature I want to get into is not really a super important feature, or one that I put a large amount of work into, but it'll help me show you my office. So, for starters, I'm going to bring in my camera, and I've got a feature called borderless full screen. I'm just going to search for it real quick. Borderless full screen. It's right here. And if I take this screen, and at first I want to give it just a little bit of an underscan horizontally because that's not really going to cover the full screen. So I'm going to take this down to about 0.75. And I'm gonna put it up this to full screen. I did that with the hotkey Control Alt F11, but you can just press this button, and you can set the hotkey right here. But anyways, now we have my camera view up, but you can still see me through here. That's because I've got a virtual touchscreen open, and the virtual touchscreen is under the experimental menu right here, and I'm just going to remove that front overlay so you won't see me through that screen there. Where's that at? There it is, virtual front overlay, and now all you see is the camera. So let's get this to the side and get this out of the way, and we're ready to show you. And keep in mind, this right here is my microphone, and like when I get close to it or when I get farther away, it's gonna keep working as normal. There we go. So as you can see, my desks are pretty fancy. I've put LEDs on the sides of the glass. Desk's a little bit dirty, but that actually makes the color effects cooler, I think, so it's not a big drawback. Whoa, what's going on there? I also have done it to my other desk for my old computer as well. There's some of my stuff. Got a guitar that I don't use. Some of my favorite video games. Haven't gotten into the Zelda Breath of the Wild game yet. It's still in the wrapper. Hopefully I'll have time soon. Got LED under my bed. Let's see how it looks with the light off. Kind of cool, huh? Oh, and that's my sister's beagle, Mayra. She hangs out in here sometimes when her owner's not here. Oh, there's my computer. It's kind of a mess in there. It's just it's mainly for like working and stuff, so I pull stuff out and put stuff in all the time, so it doesn't make sense to do any major cable management. And there is my nightstand. I actually just broke this phone by falling right off of this spot, and I think it like bounced off of there, I don't know, but it broke the screen anyways. The reason I have so many phones there is I don't really have internet. I don't have broadband internet. And the phones pretty much work decently enough. Anyways, so that was the room tour. And I'm sure the microphone probably worked appropriately. Ooh, we need to get this off there. This is getting crazy. So I've got to hit that Control Alt F11 again to get that off there. There we go. Alright, so yeah, that was the microphone manager. So let's move on to the next thing. Oh, so I've been using this multi-touch screen thing here, and it's another part of my product. And I showed you the screen a little bit ago. And it's in the experimental menu because it doesn't really work perfectly, but it works well enough for my purposes. So like if I need to develop code for touchscreens, I can just use this instead, and I can keep compiling and working on my regular desktop computer, which doesn't have a real touchscreen. there's some extra features I've added to go along with this, which work with the virtual touchscreen, or it'll also work with the a real touchscreen. So one thing that's hard to do with the touchscreen is grab onto the edges of a window to resize them, because it's hard to be accurate with just your finger. But you can still usually grab onto the top border of something to move it around. Whoop, I double clicked it. But if you want to resize it, you can just grab onto the top border with one finger. Whoop, and you can grab onto somewhere else with another finger. And you can do this with any window. So that's kind of cool. And you can do it with the virtual touchscreen or a real touchscreen. I even set it up so you can do it with the mouse. So if I hold left click on here, and actually I should show you this with, I've got a little indicator over here. Right here it's called the mouse display. And it shows you what my mouse is doing. So if I left click on something, move it around a little bit, and then I hold the right click while the left click is held, it locks that right into place there. Whoop, can't do that at the same time. But it locks the bottom right hand corner into place so you can resize it as you wish. And this also works with any window. So another cool little feature. So what should I show you next? I mean, the virtual touchscreen is pretty interesting. It can pick up all 5 fingers if you have your fingers spaced out well enough at the right distance. Sometimes it holds onto them after you pull away. And it has some rather specific hardware requirements. You need the Connect V2, and the Connect V2 has some compatibility issues with various hardware. If you want to get into the details of that, you should look at the on the website. I've got a help section for the virtual touchscreen, which I'm also going to put some more videos in specifically for the virtual touchscreen. But yeah, so you just need to be aware that if you really want that feature, it's a bit of an investment and you could have some trouble. That's why it's in the experimental menu. So I'm going to get to now is the bread and butter of my application. So it's sort of the first big feature that I added, and I think it's the most important feature. It's the ability to join windows together in a whole bunch of configurations with tiling and also with tabs. So for starters, I'll just make up sort of a scenario. So let's say I've got this hypothetical workspace, and I've got a few files in there. And let's say I want to bounce around to these files. Oh, you can't see me through here because the virtual touchscreen overlays off. Let me turn that back on. Overlay, overlay. Where's the front overlay? Oh, also, if you know exactly what you want, you can type the whole thing in. You can just find it right there. But anyways, I turned the front overlay back on, and we're back. So now you can see me through here. And I'm going to open up some of these documents. And if this was like a normal workflow, I might be bouncing back and forth between these documents. And considering my limited screen space here, I need to be efficient about where these documents are on my screen. So I'm just going to open up all these. Got this TPS report. I don't know what that is. I've got this diagram. I've always had to make a bunch of diagrams in my career. And some testing data. Let's see. So without further ado, let's go ahead and join these windows up. So I'm going to take, see this one, probably put this on the right side and get rid of this. So I'll just hold that over there. Now that's joined to the right side. Now they're together. And I'm going to go ahead and put this one at the bottom right here. So now I've got these 3 windows together, and they're stuck together. So like you might be able to do similar stuff with what's already in Windows, using like Windows left, Windows right, or holding it to the edge. But with my tool, once you join them together, they're joined together until you separate them, which is also pretty easy. If you just twinge it a little bit, and you can let go right here, and it'll separate. And now you've got the separate groups. But I want to put these back together. Oop, I didn't mean to tab them. Let's see. Windows Alt Delete. Windows Alt Delete. All right, now they're all separated again. Right. Bottom. All right, we're good. So we've got all three of these things together, and if I like maximize one of them, it makes room for that one, and it tries to keep the other ones the same. So if you just sort of get each one just big enough to be useful, and then whoop, yeah, sometimes Windows gets in the way when like you hit the edge or something on a resize, but I'll just use my left click mode to do it. So I've got all these things open, and I can bounce around between them with maximizing whichever one I'm interested in right now. And I can also put all these together in a tab with, say, my folder. So put this in a tab there. So now I've got this whole group of things in a tab, and I've got this folder right here for all the stuff I'm working on. And one thing that sets my product apart from a few other products is that you can keep adding things in a lot of different elaborate configurations, and it'll handle it. So if I just put a notepad there, put a notepad here, another notepad, it doesn't really matter how many I put in here, it's gonna handle it like a champ. This would probably be more useful in a larger monitor for all this detailed stuff, but I mean, all this stuff is still pretty important in a small monitor, because it's all the more important that you maximized your usage of space. So yeah, that's the joining. Oh, there's another little thing you can do. There's some buttons here in the join menu, so you can move them around. It's a little bit tricky to get the hang of it, but once you do, you can kind of get things moved around quicker and easier. And I also got some hotkeys to do the same thing, so like Windows Alt right. Oop. Maybe that's not the hotkey. Let's see what the hotkey is. Oh, Control Alt right. So Control Alt right, up, up, right, right, down, down, left, up. So yeah, just another quick way to maneuver things around. But sometimes you might end up just having to like break a piece off, and then whoop, don't want that. Let it get back together, and then put the piece back where you want it. It's another way to rearrange things. So yeah, I think my solution here might be the best one on the market for tiling and stuff using just in Windows. So hopefully you'll like that feature. That feature is not one of the free features, unfortunately. It's one that I'm trying to get people to get the product with. So anyways, let's get that out of the way. Actually, I don't need any of these after this point, I don't think, so I'm going to go ahead and close them. I've got a quick way to close. Normally, you could just press the X button on all these, but I've also got a little close button thing here, and let me do the mouse visualizer. And as you can see, if I left click on this and hold the left click, I can then just right click on whichever thing I want to close, and I don't have to be accurate about it. The other thing is, if you just press the button, it's whatever thing you're currently focused on will get closed. So yeah. And let's turn that visualizer back off. But as you can see, I've been using this action search a lot. So there's two ways to sort of navigate around in my program. There's the action ring, which you can open up into showing you all the features at once. One major drawback with the action ring is that you have to know what these icons are all about before you can really use this ring effectively. If you're using a touchscreen, you might just have to use that anyways, because I mean your keyboard is maybe not available, so you just have to learn those icons. But if you're using a keyboard, you can always use this first one right here, the action search. And I normally open this with a hotkey Control-Shift-Tab, but you can also open it just right there on the first layer of the menu. And any feature in this whole project, you can search for just any part of it. So even the action search menu is searchable in there, and you can open up another one. Really wouldn't need to do that. But this will search things by what's in the actual name first and foremost. It'll search by what's in the descriptions. It'll search the configurations that are available for each one. So it'll also search your current tasks. So I've got a few things in here I don't need. So here's my tasks, right in this task thing. And right now I just have OBS open and Simplode. And if I put like Notepad open and type some stuff in there, and then I minimize it, I can click on this Notepad and bring it back out. But another cool thing is if you have tons of these things up here and you can't find it easily, you can just search for like Notepad, and since it's in here, you can search it, and when you click it, it comes up just the same. And there's also a secondary action when I left click, and while left clicking, right click, and it'll just jump to my mouse. So I've got 3 screens, big screens. Sometimes if you open up a program, you might not know where it went, but if you find it on here and you left click, hold, and right click, it'll just come right to you. Easy. So don't need that anymore. The other thing that it'll search is your favorites menu. So you can add any program on your computer to this. Let me show you. So I'm going to put, let's see, my website in here. So here's a hyperlink. And as you can see, there was a not allowed sign right there. And the reason for that is Simplode Suite, for a lot of its features, it needs administrative rights. But most programs aren't using administrative rights. And for security reasons, you're not allowed to drag and drop from a non-secure program to a secured program. And that can be pretty inconvenient, but I have got a workaround right here. So as you can see, as soon as my tool detected that I was trying to drag something from an unsecured context to a secured context, it opened up this little window right here. And if I hold it over this lock button, the window goes away. And now, even though I took it from an unsecure context to a secure context, it's going to let me do this. And of course, it's safe because at the point where I held it over the that little window, as soon as it went all the way around, my program took control of the mouse cursor and took control of the drag drop. So that way it wouldn't be able to just force a drag drop somewhere that you didn't want it. So yeah, it's another cool feature. Anyway, so I put the website up here, simplode.com. If I click it, it'll just open up this website. I can close it, and because it's in my favorites menu, if I search for it, Simplode, now it's right here in the search menu. And this will work for any program you put in there. Executables, websites, documents, anything. So yeah, this is one of the free features. The favorites menu is one of the free features. The task menu is one of the free features. And this action search is one of the free features. So if you get in the free version, those three things are going to be sort of the main functionality you're getting from the product. Just an easy way to access other programs. So yeah, it's just a little freebie for anyone who wants it. So yeah, that was the action search. There's some configurability in here, but I don't want to get too deep into it. The one thing I do want to mention is these focus-free interactions. So my tool is designed to sort of augment other software, as opposed to, like, you don't use it just for the sake of using it. You use it to help you with other software. So one thing you don't want to do is pull the focus away from the software that you're working on for various reasons. Let me pull up a notepad again. So as you can see, the cursor is blinking on this notepad, and if I click away, it kind of gets deactivated and the cursor stops blinking. Depending on what kind of software you're using, there's various effects that happen when you lose focus. So if you're trying to use certain tools while also using a program that detects when the focus is missing and does something, you might run into problems like maybe a game will automatically pause, or something will just like cover everything up so you can't see anything anymore. But when you have focus-free interactions, that's not much of a problem, because if I click on my own program here, Simplode Suite, you can see that the cursor is still there. It stopped blinking, but it never actually pulled the focus away from the program. So yeah, so it's focus-free. And you can disable that, of course. And if you're using like an input method editor, you might need to disable it because it doesn't necessarily support those very well. But at least if you're just using a regular keyboard, it can be useful to you. So looks like Myra's up to something. Let's move on to the next thing. So I think I'm at the point now where I'm just gonna go through each feature one by one, sort of scanning them. And some of them I'll tell you about, some of them I won't. They're all in the website, and I plan to have detailed videos on every single one in the website. So you can always go to the website for more details, which the website is, of course, Simplode.com. So I already showed you action search. I told you about the favorites. I told you about the task menu. This is the settings menu. And there's quite a bit of stuff in here. So you might want to customize the application and how it looks. So I've got this customized style thing. And I've got some built-in themes in here. The default theme is the Moonlight theme, which for me, I like this because it's kind of a dark mode theme. And there's a little bit of like a blue in there as well, so it's not so drab. But the main reason I like the dark mode in this case is because my program makes strong use of transparency. And when you have a dark transparent thing over top of something light, it's kind of a cool effect. Whereas if you have a light transparent thing on top of something light, or on top of anything, it kind of makes stuff look washed out and weird. So I normally stick with the Moonlight one, but I have some other choices here. Got the dark, which takes out the blue. Like I said, makes it look a little drab. Got fun, which this is actually the first theme that I developed before I discovered the dark mode theme. And this one's a little crazy, I'd say, but maybe you'd like it, I don't know. We have a light theme, which is kind of a little bit like lemony, I guess. I don't know how much I like this one either. And midnight, kind of all sorts of crazy things happen at midnight. It's just more of a dark mode with some extra features like the glowing feature stuff around the icons is dark as well. And you can also customize any of these things in here. There's just a lot of stuff to customize. But I don't really want to get into all this right now. So, oh, here's a cool little feature, the equalizer ring. So this is a graphical equalizer, which it'll just sort of show you the sound that you're listening to. So I'm going to put on some kind of song that I won't get into trouble for playing. So I got this one from YouTube's videos that you're allowed to use in a video. So let's go with, first let's turn it on, equalizer ring. And we're going to play this Dynamite by Patricios. He must be a cool guy because he lets people use his music for free, and he doesn't even require attribution, which makes me want to attribute him even more. So let's open this up in Google Chromium. It's just Chromium. It's not officially Google. And I don't know. So you can see it. I'm not listening. Wrong here. But yeah, it matches up to the music. It's a real graphical equalizer, visualizer. Unlike a lot of things which just like show bouncing for no reason. So yeah, got that real graphical equalizer. And of course a lot of settings that I don't want to get into. And we'll close that. Let's see, what's next? Oh, I was in the settings menu, wasn't I? Okay. So, the next thing, if the regular themes weren't enough for you, I've got special themes, and they're in their own special area because they're not really compatible with like the other things. Like if you turn this on, it kind of overrides a bunch of features because I had to do that to make more advanced visual effects here. So right now I've got the pluralistic theme selected. I got theme animation turned on, and let's not turn on bonkers mode just yet. So, So yeah, look at that. It's kind of wild style, but maybe it appeals to some people. I don't know. I was just having some fun, and I put it in there. And of course, if you really want to get even more crazy with it, we've got bonkers mode, which takes all of the glowing effects that were around the main text and the icons, and it animates that as well, all the same. Now, if you want to make changes to this, you have to turn it off and turn it back on. So like if I want to use the vaporwave style, I'll turn it off, I'll turn it on, and now I've just got the vaporwave colors. And of course there's a lot of different configurations in here that I'm not going to get into. So I'll turn that off and move on. So you might have already noticed this one, how some of my programs are turning more transparent and less transparent as I hover over them or as I focus on them. So let me sort of explain that. So when this is on and I have a few windows open, I'll just bring up some notepads again. So I've got 3 notepads here. And as you can see, the last one that I clicked on is the least transparent. The next one is the second most transparent. And anything else is sort of a base level of transparent. It might not be super obvious because right now I have my virtual touchscreen on. So let me take away my front overlay on my virtual touchscreen and show it to you. So front, mistyped, front overlay. So we'll get rid of this front overlay. All right, so now it'll be more clear what's going on. So this is the second to last thing, and it was a little bit see-through. This is the first thing that I'm currently looking at. It's not see-through at all. And here is the one that I haven't clicked on recently at all. So yeah, it's a cool little effect. And of course, if you hold your mouse over it, it overrides it back to being fully visible. So if you're comparing things left and right, it's not going to get in your way. Just another cool little feature. It gives you sort of the glass effects that are starting to become more common and popular nowadays. but it lets you apply those effects to older programs in sort of a more simplified way. But it also does more dynamic things as well, so I'd say it's maybe a little bit of an improvement. So we'll get rid of these, and we'll leave that on because if I turn that off while I have the virtual touchscreen on, it'll mess up a little bit. So yeah, class apps. Well, the notifications menu. So I don't have any notifications up right now for some reason. Let's see, how can I get a notification up? So if I copy a GUID to clipboard, that'll give me a notification, I believe. So GUID. Oh, yeah. So anything that shows that a notification on Windows from my tool will also put the notification here. And I'm not sure if I can show you the notification thing because I think it's going to put it in the wrong screen, but I'll try. So we'll hit that GUID button again. Oh, so you know, yeah, it put the notification in my left screen. But anyways, a notification should pop up here, and once you click on the notification, it takes you here, which gives you sort of more features, more things you can do with that notification. So like right here, this copy GUID to clipboard tells you that you did it, and it also gives you a link to that feature. So like if you accidentally hit a hotkey that causes something to happen and you don't know what you did, you can just find it in there and you can find the feature. So yeah, that's the notifications window. Here's the installation menu. So this is actually just the installer that you see when you first install my product, well, part of the installer. And you can actually use this to do upgrades. You can do web install update, which will download the latest version from the internet and install it, or you can uninstall the program here. And this is how you'd install it to begin with. So yeah, my installer works pretty well. It installs in just a few seconds, and the download package is only like 4 megabytes, so not a lot spent there. Let's see what else. So that was the installer. Oh, this is just auto start. So by default, when you leave the default options in the installer, it'll turn auto start on. And of course, that means when you start Windows, Simplode will start itself up and it'll be ready to serve you with any of the features that it has. And you want to open it manually, but you can turn it off if you want to. You probably always want it to run as admin, unless you're using the free version. I think the free version might not have very many features that require admin rights. Like if you do install it, you should probably install it in your programs menu folder. And I think that's where it installs by default. Because if you're running stuff as administrator that's not in the programs folder, someone could come in and replace it, the file, and you maybe not realize it and run it as administrator, and then it's a way to sort of take an unsecured running program and change it into a secured running program without the user knowing. So yeah, just install in your program file like it says by default and you'll be fine. And you can run as admin and all will be well. So right here we have toggle external input. This is just a way to control like how Simplode Suite is like looking at your inputs from your keyboard and your mouse to how it performs its features. A lot of features that Simplode Suite has will require this to be on to work, but you can disable it so that you know that nobody's snooping on your keyboard, or at least I'm not. But I mean, even when I'm looking at it, I'm just serving these actions for you, so you shouldn't have to be too worried. But if you are worried, you can turn it off if you want. And I do. Most of my features that require external input, they typically have a fallback that you can use them without it to some extent, just maybe not as well. But some don't. So I just recommend you leave external input on unless you have a problem with it. Yeah. Oh, here is the registration menu. And if you do need to register, you'll get a notification. And when you click on the notification, you get a link to here. So it's not too hard to find, I wouldn't think. But to get the free version, all of the features of the free version, you do need to register the product. You'll see that the product still works if you haven't registered it, but a couple of the main features that you get on the free version aren't available, like the favorites menu and the task ring. So if you want the free version of the product, you're going to want to register it with a free account. And this is also the same way if you purchase the full version, that you get the full version to work on your computer permanently. So I tried to make it pretty easy. You can use your phone and do a QR code to link, or you can do it on your computer. You don't even need to use your email address. You can use your Google. You can link to your Google account or to your Amazon account, and then you can just log in that way if you use this link or click here. So there's a lot of ways that you can register. So I don't think you have too much problem with that. And this is if you want to exit Simplode Suite. You just click that exit button or this exit button. There's some other ways to exit the program too. I didn't want anybody to get too confused. So this window right here is actually a little bit confusing because this is the exit button that'll exit the whole program, and this is the exit button that'll exit the flyout. But yeah, for any flyout, if you right click on the exit button, it gives you a way that you can close the whole tool if you want to, or you can just close all the windows of the tool. So yeah, it's pretty easy. But since my program doesn't quite match like a lot of programs, like it does other things, I just want to make sure everybody knew how to close it. So get rid of this. Don't get confused. Got to close this one too. Got to think carefully. This one. Yeah, you wouldn't normally go into the context menu of the close feature, I wouldn't think, but if you did, it's a little confusing. And then I've got other stuff in here, and do I really want to get into all this? So this right here just sort of manages the memory usage of the tool. This right here is different buttons to put stuff into your favorites menu, just in case, let's say you don't have drag and drop enabled. You can go ahead and like add a file right here. Or you can add another ring to it so that you can go another level deeper. Like it's like adding a folder, basically. Or you can just type in a URL and add it there, in case you can't drag one from your browser. Let's see what else here. So there's a lot of settings in the tool, and you might want to save your settings to some other place or load a different set of settings at different times. That's what this is for. So you can load and save your settings, even set like partial settings so that you can just load like a certain segment of the settings. I'll have to give a special video just about that. I won't cover that here. Let's see what else. Oh, tray. So any of these actions, any of these action buttons that you see, or even the menu buttons, they can be put into your Windows tray. And there's a few ways of doing that. This right here is just the tray manager, so it'll manage the things that are already in there. Right now I don't have anything there, but let's say you wanted to put this about menu right here. We'll go ahead and open this up, and we'll go into the ... menu, and we'll find the tray button. We'll click it. And now we have a new function in the tray, and we'll check the tray to see what it looks like. So, is that it? Yeah, it just took the A from about. That's one of the options in here. It auto shortens the emblems. So there's only one here that has an A in it, so the A became the icon. And when you click it, it'll open that. So, yeah. Any of these functions can go in here. One of the interesting ones that actually has its own support is the audio slider. If I go into audio menu and I click on simple tray volume slider. It was already on, but I removed it. If I double click it, it's back, and it's right here. And it's just the audio slider. the reason I added this is for one of the audio features, because it doesn't always work perfectly with the traditional volume slider, so got a special volume slider just for that. And it just works the same. And you can manage that the same in the tray manager. Yeah, you can even change the icon. You can change like whether or not you want to use color emoji. But yeah, I don't want to get too deep into that either. So yeah, that's the tray. And of course, I just popped this up, the About menu. The About menu will tell you about all the different open source software that I used. Let's get that out of the way. And all these things were written by nice people so that software developers like me can make cool projects like this one. As you can see, I don't have the author's name on here yet. I'm not sure whether or not they want me to put their names on there. I don't know if they'll think that it's like some sort of an endorsement or something that they wouldn't want. But if you are the author of any of these tools, you could let me know if you want to have your name in there. So yeah, and this also gives some basic information about the product and some shortcuts to like the product registration screen or the installation screen. So yeah, that's the About menu. And we have the Hi menu. This menu comes up when you first install the program. And what it does is it takes some of the things that you might not think to immediately check and just puts them right in front of you, so you can like quickly change your theme to something you like more, or you can change the scale if it's too small. Ooh, and of course the scale is a little bit wonky, but I mean, yeah, maybe I can make it a little better later. But yeah, you can change your scale right there. You can change your. I've got some presets here, so. By default, I've got a certain set of things that are enabled when you first install the program. Some people don't like things to be enabled by default, so you could change it to strict in that case, and then it won't be doing any weird things like watching your keyboard or anything if you pick strict. And if you pick wild, it might start doing a lot of other things that are more fun, but I mean, if you pick wild, you're trying to have fun, I guess. And there's also a performance drop down. If your computer's decently fast, you can just leave it, or you can pick fast device. But if your computer's like really slow, you probably want to pick one of these lower level things, and that'll shut down a lot of the more performance costly features, like some of the unnecessary animations and whatnot. And there's other places throughout the program that you can change all that, but this is a quick way that you can make some sweeping changes real quick when you first start using the program. You probably wouldn't want to use these features later on because, as I said, they're sweeping changes. If you have a whole bunch of changes that you've sort of dialed down for yourself and you hit this button, you could change a lot of them, and that might be annoying for you. So just use this at the beginning maybe, and then maybe leave it alone after you've got it everything the way you want it. So yeah, it's the welcome menu. And logging. So if I've got any errors, this is what manages that. And like unlike most software right now, my software doesn't try to send its error logs or anything automatically. If you have errors, you can open up your error log. It'll show up as a notification, and then you can click on the notification to bring up your error log. So there's the notification for the error I just caused. And when you click on it, it's got a kind of its own little HTML tool for sending the error logs to me. Because I mean, maybe I should make myself so I can be seen again through things that are in front of me. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the front overlay back on. So, yeah, this little error log tool, you can upload your whole error log to the server, or you can upload just the session, which is the things you see here. And you can take a peek through what that is in here to make sure there's nothing in there that you don't want to send me. I don't put anything weird in there on purpose, so it's mainly just information to help me diagnose errors that you might be having so that I can put out another version later that won't have the same errors. It might have different errors, but different might be better. I don't know. So yeah, that's the error log feature. And it's got a bunch of options and stuff that I won't go into. So here's a feature that you probably won't need to use, but I added it in here just in case. So if you somehow go in and change your actions configuration to rearrange items, you can hit this button to put them back if you've run into a problem, like something that you needed is gone. And maybe you'll need this like if I produce like an update to another version and some things get moved around, you might need to hit this button to get things to the new locations. But I'm going to try to make sure that it's all seamless and that you hopefully will never have to press this button. But it's there if you need it. Let's see. And here's safe mode. So if you somehow figure out a way to hit a setting wrong, and you can't like use the program anymore, I've got the safe mode feature available. So if the program's running, you can open up safe mode with Control-Alt-F8, and it'll save your old settings to like the location on your hard drive that you get to pick, and then it'll reload all the settings with the original defaults. So then it should start working again for you. And if you can't get that to open for whatever reason, it'll also appear right down here under the main menu. You kind of have to dig down. So let's see, where were we? We were in settings menu. Were we in the extras menu? Safe mode. So it's a little tricky, but I mean, if you're watching this video, then you know how to do it. So yeah, use that if you break your settings so bad that it doesn't work anymore. And I'll work to try to make sure that there aren't ways that you can break them that badly. So moving on. So we were just in the ... menu for settings. Now we have the clipboard menu. So it's just a lot of little features for messing with the clipboard. So I'm gonna bring up a notepad to show you some of this stuff. So copy GUID to clipboard. You might not be familiar with the GUID, and so it's on my clipboard now because I clicked it. It's just a particular way of formatting kind of a sort of a random set of characters. And what it's for is you'll never see the same set of characters repeated again. So if you save a file name with this, nobody's ever going to have the same file name. It's useful for certain things, and certain programs are looking for a GUID for certain things, and you can just easily generate the GUIDs using that button. It could be more helpful to you if you're like a computer programmer like I am. So yeah. Actually, I'm probably still going to need this notepad, so I'm going to empty that. And there's not really any settings in there, so, but yeah, there's the hotkey. I don't think this hotkey is by default. I set it to Control-Alt-G. If you don't use it very much, you probably won't need that hotkey. This right here is the, it'll open the Windows clipboard manager. I was thinking about making my own clipboard manager, but then I noticed that Windows had a pretty decent one. Ooh. So you can just use the Windows one, and this is just a link to it. Yeah. Ooh, clipboard is empty. Force paste. So this feature right here, it will paste stuff forcibly using the keyboard. So like if you have a field or something that you can type into, but you can't paste into it, you can click that and it'll put that into it'll just type it directly in there. Let's see, what else? Cut. This is just the standard cut, which would be like if you press Control-X. Let's open that notepad back up. Notepad. So Control-X, you probably already know that Control-X cuts, and you can paste it again. And like if you're using maybe a touchscreen or something, you could just click it, and now you've cut it. You can come back over here and maybe paste it. Maybe I didn't cut it right. I don't know. Cut. Paste. Wonder why that. Oh, that's copy. No wonder. Oh, so paste is right here. So we'll try that again. So we'll go ahead and cut this. Boop. And then we'll go ahead and paste it. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. So, yeah. And that was copy. So press this, and we paste it. Another copy. Oh, and here's a cool one. This is the color picker. I keep trying to close this by instinct. So as you're moving your mouse around the screen, you'll see the preview color right there. And you can click this. And the next place you click, it'll be lining up with whatever your preview color is. And like, let's get the color on my lip. And then click. It's a weird color for a lip. Anyways, yeah, that captures that color to your clipboard where you can paste it. And you can select what kind of like format you want it in. So like, if you're a web developer, you might want to put it in RGB format or in hex, and they're all available here. So it's also a quick way to just change between different colors, because it'll also take, like if I copy a color, maybe I should get a different color to copy. So we'll get a color from here. So paste this here, and it sort of watches the clipboard. And then if I go back here, it copies that color. If I go back here, it copies that color. So it just sort of parses the clipboard for a color and puts it here. So you can quickly like translate it if you like. Let's see. Screenshot clip. Here's a useful one. My instinct again to just close that. So if I click this, you'll see that I'm frozen. You can still see me because of the front overlay a little bit, but I can take a cutout of any part of the screen I want. And now it's in my clipboard. So like if I go and open Paint, I don't really want to do, I don't want that open like that. If I open Paint and I paste it, there's that not very good picture of me. And yeah. Let's see what else we got here. So that was a screenshot clip. Legacy paste. It's kind of a weird function. I kind of tend to just include stuff as soon as I make it, even if it's not super useful. This would be like if you're using like a really old-fashioned program where each of the controls, each of the text boxes is its own like window handle. You can use that to paste into them. Even in some cases where maybe they don't accept the paste normally. And this is just the standard paste, which is the same as just pressing Control V. Just another thing you might need on a touchscreen, maybe. So yeah, that's the clipboard menu. Let's see, the capture menu. This one's pretty fun too. So we'll go into the capture menu and the webcam snapshot. So I'm not 100% sure this is going to work because I'm using an Xbox Connect and I don't have my regular camera plugged in. And sometimes the Xbox Connect is willing to act like a regular camera, and sometimes it isn't. We'll see. Ooh, it takes a little bit of time for that Xbox Connect to do work anyways, so I don't know if it's doing it or not. It might not be doing it. If I had a regular webcam plugged in, it would take a picture of it and put it in a box like this box that I'm going to show you in a second. So this box, it freezes me the same as the other one, and I can capture it again, and this time it sticks. So You can still see me in front of it a little bit because of the front overlay, but yeah, you can like use it for side-by-side comparisons or whatever you need. And there's a few little functions in here, and these are the same functions that would have been available in the camera thing if I had my regular camera plugged in. You get a picture of yourself, and you can cut it, which would close this, and put it to your clipboard, copy it, put it to clipboard and leave it open, resize it. You can open it up in Paint, or just like open it up in a folder where you can drag it and drop it to something. So yeah, that's the screenshot box. So, I pressed it again. Now I gotta close both of these. Close, close, close. All right, screenshot clip. Take a desktop screenshot. Okay, I think that's the one I just showed you. So yeah, I covered it. Oh no, this one I did show you earlier in the clipboard menu. This one's sort of the same as that one, but instead of bringing open that little picture box, it just goes directly to your clipboard. So that's the one I showed you earlier where I opened up Paint and then I just pasted it right in there because it was on my clipboard. So don't save that. And so that was the capture menu. And now I've got the game menu. So these features, you want to be careful not to use them if you're playing like competitive online games, because you might get in trouble depending on which feature and how you're using it. So just keep that in mind. But let me show it to you. So this is keyboard dynamic repeat, and it's kind of I'd say it's a rather unique feature compared to any I've seen. I'm going to open up a notepad to show it to you. So normally when you hold a button down, like A, Windows will repeat it at its own special rate that you set somewhere. But like if you have it open in a game or certain other software, it'll detect it as just the button being pressed down and being held down. But with keyboard dynamic repeat, you can have it repeat at the same speed that you were repeating. I gotta turn it on first. So it just keeps on going at the original speed that I was going, which could be useful in certain games. I don't want to show you any games that I'm using it because I don't own the intellectual property rights to any games, and this is pretty much a commercial, and I don't want to sort of include them in my commercial without asking. But I can kind of show you the rhythm of what keyboard dynamic repeat can do. So if I type in B at a certain pace, and I type in A a little bit faster maybe, and then type in N at a certain speed, and get the space bar going at the right speed. If I get lucky, it'll say banana. I don't know if it's going to do it. I'm not going to wait too long. It's got close. Come on, banana. Show me the banana. Okay, yeah, we're not going to see the banana this time. But anyways, yeah, it's just any of the buttons that you're holding after you've pressed them a couple times in a certain rhythm, it'll just keep the rhythm going. Ooh, keep wanting to close that. I keep needing it. I'll just move it off to the side. So you can change the repeat threshold. It gets a little bit wild at 2. By default, WASD are excluded because if you're using movement keys, it will it kind of gets in the way on movement keys. So this selects which movement keys you're using. I'm a SDFE guy or ESDF guy myself, and I still left WASD as the default begrudgingly, but people that use defaults tend to have WASD as their movement keys, so that's fine. But try SDFE, it's pretty nice. anyways, that's keyboard dynamic repeat. Keyboard repeat next key, so bring back this notepad. If I press this and I press B, whoop. Not sure why it's not picking it up. Huh. The next key you press will repeat until you press it again. Oh, there we go. Wonder if it was because I had dynamic repeat on that it didn't work. Let's see. I'll turn this on again. So hold there, repeat next key. Oh, well, I got a bug to fix there. Don't worry about it, I'll fix it later. So keyboard hold next key. Next key you press will remain pressed until you hold it again. So like if you have like a key to crouch, like C to crouch, you press this button, you hit C, and you can just stay crouched without holding the button in. A little bit of a useful feature. But if you want to use it more often, you can use you can make it into a toggle key. So I'll hit toggle next and then C, and that makes it so that each time you press C, it'll hold it down or it'll unhold it, and it'll keep doing that until you hit the toggle next again and hit C again. So yeah. So yeah, toggle next key, it'll just make them into toggle keys. Mouse wheel accelerator. This one maybe isn't actually so useful for games, but it's still in the game menu. What this does is if you scroll your mouse wheel fast enough, it'll multiply how fast you're scrolling your mouse wheel. So if you're like going through ginormous documents, like 10,000 lines long, might help you. For instance, my help file. This is a pretty long thing with a lot of scrolling. And as you can see, I'm not scrolling super fast. And if I turn on the mouse wheel accelerator, it speeds it up a little bit. And of course, you can dial that in however you need to. A lot of different configurable options there. Mouse accelerator. So this one I'm actually a little bit embarrassed about. Let me get rid of some of these things. So the mouse accelerator, when I first started this project, I was hooked on the Microsoft Windows standard mouse acceleration, which is like if you move your mouse slow, it moves your cursor a little bit. And if you move your cursor faster, it moves your cursor a lot more, like in a non-linear kind of relationship. And one of the problems with that is you can't really learn any muscle memory for like moving back and forth to certain things with the same motion, because the speed at which you're doing it affects how far you go. And once I realized that I didn't need mouse acceleration in my life, I was better off. But there's still some various circumstances that you might want mouse acceleration. And if you still do, boy, do I have a product for you. There's all kinds of ways you can configure this to have whatever kind of mouse acceleration you need. But like I said before, if you don't need mouse acceleration, it's best not to use any of it at all, I'd say. So yeah, it's the mouse accelerator. What else we got going on here? Oh, I left the gaming menu for some reason. Oh, so yeah, that was the mouse accelerator. Oh, and now we have the window menu. So the window menu does all the different things that are related to managing windows, like including like the join menus that I showed you earlier. So if I bring open another notepad, I can start showing you some of these things. So the ghost menu gives you some manual control over like transparency and whatnot. So if I click on this and click plus, it makes it more transparent, less transparent, if I hit this, clicked on the desktop. If I hit this X button right here, it will, not sure what that did. It's supposed to just close the, undo any of the transparency things that you've already done, but it did something more that I don't like it. I think it kind of like moved something in front of something else. So let me just turn off my virtual touchscreen for a second and turn it back on. Virtual touchscreen. Virtual touchscreen. And am I back? Okay, I'm back. So, yeah, if you weren't using virtual touchscreen, what it does is it just takes all the things that are transparent and puts them back to the way they were. But of course, I guess virtual touchscreen uses some transparent features, and there's a little bit of a conflict in there I gotta fix. So, yeah, you can manually change. You can even do the left click, right click, drag trick I told you about earlier to sort of dial it in like this. And you can make it so you can click through it. So if I were to take another notepad open and, well, see, this is actually in front of it right now. So let's go ahead and put that back to not see-through. So now this one is in front of the one behind it. I can make it click through, and then when I click it, it'll just click the thing behind it, which is more useful in conjunction with another feature right here, the always on top feature. So I put this thing always on top, and now it's in front, but it doesn't respond to clicks, and whatever's underneath it will take the clicks just fine. So just a way you can sort of arrange a window to do kind of odd things. So yeah, if you want to turn that off, doing this X button, if you're not using the virtual touchscreen, will undo that. Otherwise, you can just click it right there with the trick where you left click, hold, and then right click here. So yeah, those are those transparency settings. And of course, I already showed you these where you can change things, link them together, where you can unlink them. Let's see. So links, there's a movement button. You can move them as you like. A resize button. It's another way to resize. And of course, these aren't super useful because normally you can just resize and move the normal way, or with the left click, right click method. But like some windows maybe don't allow you to move them normally, but you could still use this to move them, or this to resize them if they don't like to be resized. So you can kind of override some things with that, or with the touchscreen, maybe more easily move or resize stuff. And I already showed you the always on top feature, but the always on top feature doesn't necessarily have to go along with the see-through thing. But yeah, the always on top feature will just put things always on top. So if you don't have the see-through thing going, then you won't be able to get to anything that's behind there. And I'm going to go ahead and put that back at the bottom. So now this can go over top of it again. And I showed you this earlier, the borderless full screen. I like to use it in games, but I can show you just sort of. And right now I still have it set up with that overscan, but I can go in here and turn the overscan back to 1. Whoop. Just type in 1. And then we'll see just a borderless full screen. And I've got 3 monitors, so this will work properly on each monitor, or if you want it to spread across all 3 of your monitors, you can click spread or span all screens. Yeah. So yeah, borderless full screen. I use this all the time. Maximize. That's just like hitting the maximize button. So up and we'll restore it. Minimize button. It's down there. So here I've got a magnify app feature here. So let's go ahead and take this window and make it like yay big. And if I click magnify app, you'll see what happens. It just centers it and magnifies it right on the screen. So yeah, kind of a useful feature. What else we got here? Oh, super close. I also skipped over regular close. I showed regular close earlier, where it just closes the program. Super close, on the other hand, will close the process associated with the program. So super close window, you can activate it with the default hotkey Control Alt F4. If you're familiar with hotkeys, Alt F4 is a way that you traditionally will close a program. But some programs, they don't want to close immediately for whatever reason. Like maybe they're trying to get you to save a document or something. Or maybe they just are refusing to close for some other reason, like a video game that just like has its own way they don't want you to close. If you don't want to wait for that, and you don't want to deal with whatever it's asking you, you hit Control Alt F4 and it's gone. Pretty much always, but of course, if it's like not responsive and like Windows can't even kill it, it might not be able to close it in all circumstances, but pretty much any time that there's an easy way at all to close it, this will be it. So super close window closes that process down immediately. And the dot menu, there's just a lot of weird things. This one, it lets you tell a certain program to limit its RAM usage, basically page its RAM usage to your hard disk instead of the memory. It's not a super useful feature, but it's there if you want it. This just gives some information on stuff. Looks like that one's not working right now. This just opens up the menu right here for whatever program you're using. This one just centers the mouse on whatever window that you have active, or whichever window you've targeted, which actually probably belongs in the game menu a little bit, but it's kind of a feature you might not need. But I've seen a couple of games where it was pretty useful to have a hotkey that would just put the mouse back in the middle of my screen. And yeah, I'm not going to cover the other ones. So there's Myra. What else? So that was that dot menu. And where did I just come from? The window menu. So I already showed you the equalizer ring, I believe. And the microphone manager, I explained that and showed you how I could walk around the room just fine. Loudness manager is sort of the other side of the coin from the microphone manager. The loudness manager balances your speakers, your sound for your different programs. So if you have a program which is quiet for a while and then becomes really loud and then becomes really quiet, maybe like a video you're watching or something, you can turn this on and it'll balance out that volume for you. Also, if you set balance applications, if you have one program that's really loud and one program that's really quiet, it can balance between the two. And there's like 3 different choices here for how you want the loudness manager to work, and each one has its own benefits and drawbacks. I'm not going to get into all of them right now, but yeah, it's just a way to keep your volume sort of equalized. Loudness manager, increase volume. Oh, so I'll just go back in the ring. Just an easy way to increase or decrease your volume. And there's even a cool little animation to show your volume there. It shows twice if you're clicking both of them in succession. And if you open them, you can get in here. And, I actually have a custom curve on, like when you press this button, it doesn't necessarily change your volume directly according to what like your operating system does. By default, it goes like with a power curve of 2, so that like when you're in the low part of the volume range, when you click the button, it's a gradual change, and when you're in the upper part, it's still a noticeable change. But I've got another video specifically for that. But yeah, it's maybe better than a regular volume controller, I would think. But yeah, you can quickly raise and lower your volume with that. And we have the cursor menu. So cursor menu, I showed you this earlier where you can see what your mouse is doing. This right here is just a toggle switch for the mouse combos. So one way I like to open my rings is, well, let's turn this back open. I press my middle mouse button down, which is my mouse wheel. I press that mouse wheel in and I hold it down. And then while it's held down, I press this right mouse button, and that'll toggle that on and off that ring so that I don't have to, like, I don't have to use the keyboard. I don't have to move my mouse anywhere. I can just press middle mouse button, right mouse button, and open and close this thing. And since it's always on top, it's always available. So yeah, if you turn off the combos, that won't work. Let's see, what else? Oop, back in here. That was the mouse wheel accelerator I showed you earlier. And here's the mouse accelerator I also showed you. Actually, one thing I didn't actually mention was, see this little icon? It's potentially useful for locating your mouse. I've had a few coworkers that would lose track of their mice, their cursors, on their nice big screen. Particularly some people that maybe their vision's not so great or something. It's a good way to just see where your mouse is. But if you don't have this open, I've got another way that you can see where your mouse is. It's this cursor finder. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off for showing you. The cursor finder, I think I've already accidentally triggered it earlier. Let's say you've got a big screen, a little tiny cursor, and you're having a hard time seeing where it is, or maybe you have like 3 screens like I do, and you don't even know which screen it's on. You can just shake it like crazy, and then you have a spotlight appear on it, and you really can't miss that. So yeah, that's what that is, the cursor finder, and it's got some settings you can change on there. And I already showed you this one, the thing that puts the mouse in the middle of stuff. Okay, so I think I'm getting close to the end. This is the, I just kind of ran out of space in the main ring, so this is just more stuff that didn't really have any sub-menu to go into. This right here is where the ring menu kind of lives. This is the button that brings the ring menu toggling. So if you want to change your hotkey on how that toggles, you can change it right here. Looks like right now I've got it as Control Tab, and there's some other things in here, like you can put it in your start menu and whatnot. But yeah, so, and we have the experimental menu, and this one feature right here I'm not going to get to until like the end. This is sort of a red cyan 3D, and it might bother some people if you don't have red cyan glasses to see the effect right now. So I'll save that till the end and show you like that running with everything else. But these other features are pretty safe to show you right now. We've got this benchmarking feature, which I don't stand behind it. It works, and it can show you you can give you scores on various things. I'll just run this real quick. So yeah, I'm getting my little benchmark scores here, and you can change how long you want it, or whether or not you want to use hyperthreading or SMT or multiple cores. But if you want to see the actual tests, what it's doing, you can find that on the GitHub website underneath Simplode benchmarking. So it uses the .NET framework to run these things. At some point I might change it to where it's doing just real like C++ DLL for so you know that what you're seeing is more accurate. Because with the .NET framework, these scores could vary depending on which version of the .NET framework you have installed, and also with like maybe just-in-time compilation it might be doing during this, but I mean, I think once you run it once, it'll probably already have it just-in-time compiled. So yeah, it's a little quick performance test, and actually this feature is included with the free version. So this is the virtual touchscreen. It's where it lives. I've already showed you a lot of it just in passing, so I'm not going to really cover this. I'm going to put out another video specifically just covering all the details of that at another time. Got a QR code generator. This one's a little out of place, but I mean, it's experimental menu. You can just, any content you type in here, it'll encode it into the QR code. It's got some settings in here as well. Normally you put like a URL in here, and when you click on it, it brings it to a picture box, which you can do all the normal things like put it into a folder or open it up in Paint, copy it or paste it, that sort of thing. So close. Yeah, I had to add QR codes anyways because of the registration features. So I figured, hey, I might as well turn it into a feature on itself. And it uses a third-party library to do most of the work, but yeah, it's a pretty useful feature if you need a QR code. And this one's all about fun. So all it does is make things spin around. But if you have like I'm going to open up the full ring window and get this out of the way. So if I open up the full ring window by double clicking on that from the base level, and then I go in and let's see, where was that at? Right here. Now it's a little more interesting what it's doing. It's just like a visual effect sort of thing. Although now I don't even know where it is anymore. I've got to disable it. It'll come back around. Where is it at? I don't know where it is. I think it's one of the slow ones. Maybe if I move. Oh, yeah, it doesn't like that. So yeah, this is just a for fun feature, so I haven't really worked on it too heavily. Oh, it finally came back around. Okay, so yeah, it's just for fun. So we'll close that down. And we'll go back in there. Oh, so we're done with that area. We do have to go back to the red cyan 3D effects later. Because that one, it also might crash. I don't know. We'll see. Depends on how many windows I have open, whether or not it is willing to do it. Display menu. So this one. So you've probably seen this feature before, like your phone or something, and I think Windows might also have a version of this built in somewhere. But you can just sort of pull the blue out of your display with this, and you can even set it on a schedule throughout the day to adjust for like the daylight is outside and whether you're trying to go to sleep or not. Let's see. Display color settings. So this lets you change more than just the blue. You can just change all the different colors on your display. This is doesn't affect the hardware of the display. I do have a hardware brightness controller in here. Let's see, where's it at? Hardware brightness right here. It doesn't work on my monitors. On my monitors, whenever they receive a command to change the brightness, all they do is change the brightness up to 100%. So then it starts searing my eyes. So I'm not going to touch that button. But if you have a laptop maybe, or a better monitor than mine, this should work for changing the hardware brightness level. I usually keep the hardness brightness levels on all of my stuff as low as possible. Let's see, brightness. This one right here is brightness, but it only affects the like what signal's being sent to the monitor. So oftentimes you won't save any electricity by changing this brightness level. And it's even got gamma effects as well. All right, so split screen detection. there's a lot of different things on here that need to know what screen they're on and what the borders of the screen look like to act intelligently. So I want to see where that menu is. Display menu right here. Okay. Yeah, I didn't bring open the ring for some reason. Maybe this is actually a little bit better way to explain these things anyways. The split screen detection. There's a couple different technologies. If you have 3 screens or like any combination of screens that you want to behave as a single screen that you might be using, there's the AMD Infinity and the NVIDIA Surround. And if you have them enabled, my program might not do smart things. Like when I hold this to the top right of my screen and I do this, it comes out to the bottom left because it knows that it's not going to break across my screen. And I'm not using the Infinity or the Infinity Surround right now, but if I do use it, this feature right here will detect it so that it'll still open the same way and not go across the borders. And it also affects other features like when you're maximizing a group of programs that are joined together or tabbed together, it'll know like to put them on just one screen. So it's a pretty useful little feature if you're using one of those Infinity or NVIDIA Surround. Okay. My throat's getting a little bit dry, as you can probably hear. So, operating system display settings. This one just opens up like your operating system display settings right here. Little useful shortcut. And you can quickly set your refresh rates. My monitors used to like to lock down to 30 hertz, so I'd use this to switch them back to 60 hertz. All right, well, where did I put that? Oh, it's back here. So we were in the display menu. And then we showed you the operating system display settings and the hertz. So we're done with that section. Generate documentation. So generate documentation will just give you new documentation for the current version of your program that you have installed. And after it generates, it'll give you a nice little local website where, like, if you're traveling, you don't have the internet connected, you can't visit Simplode.com, you can see pretty much everything in here in one easy to read place. All the different information that maybe is not showing because of like verbosity settings or things that are you got to hold your mouse over to see the extra information. It's all in here. So yeah, you can just use this to find anything. And of course, if you go to the website, this thing will have the videos in it as well. And you can tell it to go directly to the website if you want. But yeah, that button will regenerate the documentation. Sometimes it takes a little while, so I'm not going to do it right now. So generate documentation. Delete temporary files. So if you have a bunch of temporary files, you can just click this and it'll take anything that's not been created or modified in the last 48 hours in the folders selected here, which are your temporary folders. In this case, it's only found one. It will delete those temporary files for you. I've got a few programs on here, I don't know if it's Windows or whatnot, that dump like hundreds and hundreds of megabytes in there fairly often. So this is pretty helpful to me. So I press that kind of often. I probably should set it to delete temp files on start. That way it'll just automatically do it for me. And that'll just keep my hard drive a little cleaner. Let's see. Reset network adapter. So I used to have a problem for quite a long time on many computers. I don't know why, but my internet would drop out and then I'd have to reset the network adapter. But of course, I couldn't just reset the network adapter. I'd press like I have to go through a wizard where it detects what's wrong with it, and then it finally realizes, oh, it's the network adapter again, and it resets. but this button will just immediately reset the network adapter. And it also has features to sort of watch if your network is not working and then automatically reset the network adapter, which could be useful if like you're trying to leave a computer on while you're on vacation so you can access it and you got nobody there to turn it back on for you and reset it for you. I haven't been running into this problem on the most recent versions of Windows though, so maybe that's a bygone era, I don't know. But if you have a problem where you have to keep resetting your network adapters, this could be really useful for you. Well, this will toggle like auto hide on the taskbar. Auto hide's a little bit weird to get. Well, see, yeah, there it goes. And this one right here will restart Windows Explorer. Something I use fairly often because Windows has a lot of ways that it crashes, that the Explorer Windows crashes, especially when you're doing a lot of advanced things with it. But I'm not going to press that right now. I've got a link to the recycle bin. So, yeah, a lot of times I can't find a link to the recycle bin because like I open it up in like the Windows Start menu and I type in recycle and it doesn't come up, and like my desktop might be crammed full of stuff and I can't find it on there, or I've got too many windows in front of the desktop to reach it. So now I can just search for recycle and then it'll come up. Let's see what else. So this is the magnification menu. Bring that up. And it's a magnifier that works a little bit differently than most magnifiers out there. It kind of just sort of, if you move your mouse out of the area of effect, it unzooms you. And if you can zoom out as well. And also if you, I've got a hotkey on, or not a hotkey, but there's a mouse combo where if I hit the mouse button in, let me open up that visual display again. Mouse display. If I hit the middle mouse button and then while it's held in, roll it, it can do the zooming. So yeah, it's a quick way to zoom in and zoom out of stuff. So long as your mouse wheel is capable of rolling while it's pressed in. And I go through mice like crazy, and part of the reason might be because of this feature. Because maybe cheaper mice aren't designed to roll while they're pressed in. I don't know. But anyways, I use it often, and my mice are like $5, and I just buy another one when the mouse wheel quits working. So, yeah. And I think I already showed you this one earlier, where if you have an app and it'll just zoom in on it. And of course, right here is a link to the Windows magnifier. I don't want to open the Windows magnifier because it has a little bit of compatibility problems with some of my features. It's part of the reason why I have my own magnifier built in. I'll just move that out of the way. And I'm going to get this mouse thing back to not displaying. So that was the magnifier. And I already showed you the drag drop unlocker. I think I showed it to you twice, so I'm not going to show it to you again. See, we've got the power menu. Not sure I want to hit that yet. We've got scan for hardware changes. So this is the same as when you go into Device Manager, searching for new devices. You might need it for some weird reasons. You'd even put a hotkey on it. I think at one point I had like a monitor that wouldn't start working until I scanned for new hardware. And then this would be the way that I'd do that, rather than have to open up the Device Manager and go in. And this right here is the super ring, which I already showed you. Like when you double click on the thing right here, it'll open up the super ring. But you can of course click it right there and open up the super ring as well. there's actually another super ring other than the one that I just showed you. It's in that same thing. It's instead of concentric, it's recursive. So it's a little bit different if I press it. See, it just sort of opens them up in these things. Now, if you had a bigger screen, this would look like better. But since I'm using just the 1280 by 720 screen for this video, it's got a little bit of a problem. But I can kind of show it to you what it really looks like if I scale it down. So let me try that. So where are we at? I'm going to close that back down. And I'm going to open up the scales. Let's see. First, I'm going to make sure I can go back in there. Yep, there it is. And then I'm going to change my scale. And I don't have it set up to where you can use the little interval bar only goes down to 1. Because if you do it too low, you can't see what you're doing anymore. And then you might not be able to put it back. But yeah, I'm going to change that down to 0.5. And then I'm going to open up that again. So hit that again. And that's more like what you'll see on a regular sized screen. So it's kind of a cool feature. It could probably look cooler if I had some other effects. Maybe I'll do that later. But for now, it's just a neat little animation and everything opens up just that way. So I'm going to go ahead and change that back now. Oh, actually, that's sort of another way. I showed you that little fun thing earlier. I'm going to open it up again and show you that. When you turn it on to make everything go around in circles, you just got to find it. So it was under the ... menu of... actually, maybe it was in the experimental menu. See, it's kind of hard to see now because it's all at half scale. I'll just search for it. I don't even remember what it's called though, so it's like rotate. There was like a party signal in there. And maybe I'll just come back to that later because I can't think of it off the top of my head. But anyways, I gotta change that scale back up to 1. All right, we're back. So, in the power menu, I think we're getting to like the last sort of thing. So, power menu is kind of hard for me to explain, so I wanted to do that one of the last things. So some of these parts are pretty easy. These three right here will just switch between your power saver mode and your high performance mode and your balanced power mode, just right in here. Although right now, as you can see, it's showing balanced, Simplode, enhanced read only, and the reason for that is I've got chill boost on, which I'm about to explain in a little bit. But if I turn that off, now these things will go to whichever one you've clicked on. So, oh, I don't know if I actually described what I was doing there. This button right here just opens up the operating system's power menu. So chill boost, this one right here. So I've actually put quite a bit of work into chill boost. It's kind of an advanced feature, but it's also hard to explain. But I'll try anyways. So let's get this out of the way, and let's make this a little bigger. So to explain this, I'm going to open up the auto calibration, and I'm going to go ahead and run the auto calibration. So these are my 3 PowerPoints. Oh, and it's still working on it. It's trying to get to 5 runs each for each PowerPoint. So as you can see, the measured efficiency level for each power point. At the 100% power, it's the least efficient. And then at this mid-range one, it's slower, but it's 34% more efficient. And at the lowest end, it's like 2.6 times as efficient as the highest end. So ideally, for keeping your CPU cool, keeping your room cool, keeping your energy usage low, you would like to keep it down here at this lowest power level, or whichever one's most efficient, as much as possible. But you can't always do that because you also want to get the most performance when like you're playing a game and you're at 60 frames per second and you don't want to lose a frame. You just want to keep that performance high enough to keep your 60 frames per second if you've got a 60 frames per second monitor. And this tool provides a bunch of different ways to try to keep your computer operating at this highly efficient power phase, while also making sure that if you actually do need to be at the high power level, that you'll be at the high power level. So it's pretty advanced, hard to explain. I'm gonna have to make a video specifically for these features, but yeah, it's here and it does a lot. But yeah, I'm not gonna get into the details right here. So yeah, that's chill boost, and I moved that out of the way. And I normally keep chill boost on because it helps keep my room cool. And I've got a 1950X Threadripper in here, so this room can get really hot if I just run it at the high speed. So I think, yeah, that's all this in this energy menu. Sleep, just a sleep button. If you're using a touchscreen, maybe you want to use a sleep button to make your computer go to sleep. Otherwise, it's a nice way to have it in there so that you can search for sleep and it'll just come up. Shut down. It's also an option for a different way of shutting down. You can log out, restart with an option, or lock. Let's see. I'm a little bit confused as to what menu I went to. So back into here, back into energy. Okay. Oh yeah, so that covers that power menu. So I think I'm pretty much close to done explaining everything. But remember earlier, I skipped over the red, blue, cyan thing. I think I'm pretty sure I showed you the bonkers mode, didn't I? Just in case, I'm just going to turn it on again. Bonkers mode. And we'll turn that off for a second because I want to show you the 3D effect. So we'll bring back red, blue, cyan 3D. I'm actually going to navigate to it using the ring. So ... Let's see, under here. Oh, there's where the spinny thing is. I'm going to show you that real quick then. So if I go back to here, change this back to, oh, it's still recursive. And I also want to, you know what, I don't need to change the scale for this. I'm just going to pop it open and tell it to do it. So in this one, it actually, if it's bigger, it makes more sense, but you can open up each one to another level, another rotation. When you click this, though, then they all sort of start orbiting at different speeds. So it's just a little fun thing. I'll put it back. But I do want to switch that back from recursive to concentric for what I'm about to show you next. So I want to make sure I don't have too many windows open, so that way I won't have to worry about it not working. So I don't need that window open. Got to keep my OBS going. Got another notepad to close. And okay, so now we're safe to turn on the red, blue, or red, cyan 3D option. So we'll go back into here, open this, and turn it on. And you gotta wait a little bit. It takes a moment to load it up. In the meantime, Put these glasses on. Oh, there it goes. Okay, I'm glad it worked. With OBS on, sometimes some of these things have some troubles. Ooh. So yeah, at this point, you probably want to have the red-blue glasses if you have them. It's going to get wild. So bring open some windows, notepad. Open another notepad. Another notepad. So as you can see, there's sort of 3 different levels. There's the background level, which is me right now. It would be your desktop background if you didn't have the virtual touchscreen enabled. And then there's a mid-level. And it's sort of like if you switch around to different things, it will put different things behind other things. It tries to do it in an intelligent way, but it's a little buggy sometimes. It's more of a for fun feature than anything. So it does have a little bit of problems, but it works. It's kind of amazing that it works, really. It's a very hacky thing where it's using different magnifier APIs to put down a cyan layer and a red layer. And then we have the 3 different, these 3 different layers, because the back layer has a different, like left and right separation than the middle layer than the front layer. But yeah, it's usable and it works. It's just pretty much drains the performance a lot. So I don't really envision people using this as an everyday feature, but it's still fun. But that's what a lot of these features are all about. So since I've pretty much covered everything, now I'm just gonna make it go crazy. So we're gonna turn back on that bonkers mode, pluralistic bonkers mode. Oop, bonkers mode's not enabled. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. I closed the wrong thing. Bonkers. Bonkers mode enabled. Oh, there we go. So now we've got bonkers mode going. We got this going. We've got 3D going. Yeah, what else can we get going here? Let's take the music and put that on again. So we'll go back and get this other song from Patricios. And let's see. We'll go ahead and open up the sound visualizer, and we'll put this on. And is it playing? I don't know. Wrong here. Oh yeah, it's playing. So now we've got music going, we've got 3D going. Let's see. Get this action search out of the way. Open up the oh, see, you're starting to lag a little bit, so it's hard to like grab stuff and move around. Get this over here. Opening everything, it's going crazy. And we'll do the full ring. Now it's really going to be light on that. What else we got going on here? Let's get it spinning. Why not? Where's the spinner? Some of these things don't end up in the same place every time. When you have a small monitor, especially. So, spinner. And it's hard to see. Spinner. Where's the spinner at? There it is. Now we've got that spinning, we've got different levels, we've got a touch screen going on, resizing stuff. I don't know what else I can possibly do, but yeah, I've got every feature going. Works looks okay. Didn't expect that thing to be this well with 4 wheels running. But yeah, that was my product, Simplode Suite. It's a cool sign. Well, I think the equalizer doesn't show me the whole range of things. Looking up some other things in a minute. And then open up the action menu. Oh, and the music's done. So I think that pretty much ends my video. I don't know anybody who would actually watch this video all the way through. If you did, congratulations. Thank you for checking out my product. I hope you at least go get the free version, and if you like the features in the full version, maybe get that too. Now my website, well, you can't even see me anymore. Simplode.com. Well, bye. Stop recording.